What is artist? I never really want to be an artist. It's not by choice, rather I happen to be an artist. I think what I do is what I like to do. If you have to give a name to a profession, I can accept it. I grew up in a communist society. When I grew up, all the art are propagandas, so nothing to be interested. But still, you can be interested in skills, like to make a drawing. First time I feel that skill is to see my father, even during the most difficult time when he cleaned the toilets for villagers, he still can use one pencil, white paper, draw a few lines of a plant. That make me understand that a few lines as a miracle. You walk your own journey. It's almost like you fight like boxing in a ring. And of course you get beaten or you throw a few good ones, but still, those kind of effort make me sense myself. This confrontation can come out as some kind of testimony, sometimes even manifestos, which is demanding so-called truths or facts, which I think nobody ever attended. And leave me alone. But actually, the best work I have done is when I really feel I'm alone. I treat every piece as a first piece I'm doing, also as the last piece I'm doing. I don't like to have any sense of repeating or any sense of security. I think that ruins everything. Especially for artists. If you see artists, they did something under 10 years or 20 years, some of 30 years later, still doing the same thing. I would not understand that type of practice. I think art is not important at all. I would say, I think being a human being, to have a consciousness, make judgment, to have your self-expression, are really important. It doesn't have to be as art. Activist is even more strange. I would say anybody is alive, consciously or not, is an activist. Otherwise, how can you be alive? I said very clear, if an artist is not an activist, is a dead artist. And if an activist is not an artist, I think that's just a troublemaker. It's not really not doing anything worth even to be mentioned. I traveled across border over 300 times. I did 6-7 films in past years. I'm doing that really just for myself. I don't need one single audience besides myself. And I have to use that way to record some kind of things I feel is worth to record it. My working environment could be hotel, could be airport, could be journey, could be front line in the war zone and refugee camps. Yeah. Name it, it can be anywhere. I did a work about my detention conditions in 6 metal boxes. I did that only because my mom asked me how it was like. So I thought the language cannot clearly reflect the conditions, so I thought maybe I make a installation or sculpture, just like in the history museum. They would show how human being in the 8,000 years ago or 10,000 years ago, this kind of thing. So I made that basically for my mom. I was invited by the factory in Manchester. I visited their location, which is overwhelmingly impressive. Not only the size, but the kind of technical environment. So I have to do some study about local history, about England, about China's relation to England, about the Industrial Revolution. Then I found out many interesting aspects. Surprisingly, British has invaded China 3 times. In the 1840s, during the Opium War, first one, second one, and the 1900, 8 nations united to force China to open its market. That is very interesting history because that 200 years fixed the China and the West culture, political difference. For 2 generations, my father's generation and me, and now 3rd generation, all out of China. My father was in Paris, I was in the United States. Now I'm in Europe, my son studies in Cambridge. So I have to ask why and how. So this is really a big backdrop about early colonialism, capitalism, communist struggle, and post-communist, post-industrialism, globalization, and now we get into AI world. So that's really big enough for me to do one exhibition. It's very ambitious, but happened my work have many connections to it. So that would be my ultimate show because it would put many important objects or installations together. Those works mainly never been shown in England. Most of them never shown in Europe. Only one of them can take a museum show, but to the 7 or 8 of them together, it's very challenging. You see, I always have a large warehouse because I'm very arrogant to use my size to challenge the stupid market. When my size becomes too big, nobody can accept it. I enjoy it so much. That's mine. My relationship with China is like my relationship with anywhere else. I made comparisons like I'm a little piece of leaves floating in a river. Whenever the river flows, my position changes of the views of the riverbank. It constantly changes. So in China, an old sentence say, in 30 years, you're on the east side of a river, but next 30 years, you suddenly become on west side of a river. Actually, the mountain never really changed, but the water, the river path changed. So I never had a fixed view or position about anything because my life is changing all the time.